first contact that I had with them, significant contact, was on the 28th of August, 1967. We were about maybe a mile south of our little fort, our little compound, right up on Highway, in a graveyard that abutted Highway 1. And we were on the east side of the highway, and there was a hill called 162, so it was about a 162-meter hill, so 900, 800-meter high hill, a good-sized hill, with a trail next to it that we'd been watching for some time. So we sat into this graveyard, and the Vietnamese graves are circular, with a lip, so you can kind of sit down in them and have some cover, concealment. So we were in 3 graves, and there was a trail that ran down this hillside, and then the highway, and then the trail continued right through the graveyard where we were. So we sat in at about 9 o'clock at night, and by 9:30, people were running through us. It was a North Vietnamese company who was in transit. They didn't really know the terrain. They had a minder, a local, I'm sure, guiding them through the area. But in order to get across the road and not be exposed, they ran across. Well, they ran right into us. And before all we heard were running feet, and suddenly people were stepping on us and running through us. And we began shooting in every direction because they were just running right through us. It was incredible. And I actually had a guy trip over me, and took a shot at him, missed him. Fortunately, he just kept going. But we ended up killing about 5 of them, and ended up in a kind of a fight to get at the people that were wounded, who were on the other side of the road from us. Some of them kept running towards the South China Sea. Some of them reversed and went back up the trail towards the mountains where they'd come from. And we had this battle that went on amongst ourselves. But there were only 7 of us, and there were probably 90 or 100 of them. But as I said, fortunately, they kept going one direction or the other, with the exception of about maybe 10 or 15 of them that stopped to protect their casualties and protect their wounded and what have you. And so we had quite a little dust up with those guys for a while. So that was my first significant contact. And a really good friend of mine, we were assaulting a trench where there were several wounded and dead North Vietnamese. And his name was John Jankovics, and he had a machine gun, and he was just getting ready to pick it up and spray down this ditch and at these people. And a fellow from me to cameraman here raised up with a AK-47 and shot him right in the wrist, and he dropped the machine gun. We all fell back immediately, but he had a hole in his wrist. I mean, it almost severed his hand from his arm. And he was ultimately medevac, but he had so much pain from that for 5 years that he finally committed suicide, many, many years later. So it's amazing how these injuries can come home to roost, so to speak.
Hear more first-hand accounts at Soldiers Memorial Military Museum in the special exhibition, Vietnam at War and at Home, open until Memorial Day, May 27th, 2024. Plan your visit at www.mohistory.org/memorial.